Hello everybody and welcome to the video. My name is Midway and I hope you're having a wonderful day. I sure am. So today I am going to be looking at a guide for warriors that's up in the Japanese wiki. We're going to be looking through it and seeing what's recommended to play as a warrior nowadays. Now I don't play a warrior right now and I've been playing an archer for the longest time, right? So I know Counter-Strike is the best for it, but let's find out what the Japanese wiki recommends for warriors and let's see if it's a good guide. Nonetheless, for sure it's going to be a pretty good idea of just how to try and follow a proper warrior build. We're going to be looking at it and seeing how it's going to be recommended to build it early on as well as later in the game, right? So let's start with skills. As you can see right here, we get a little bit of a breakdown of everything we can try and expect, right? So skills, pals, and we'll follow up with other stuff like stats and statue and all of that, right? So let's just start with it. Skills. It's recommending us to use the following. So we'll go ahead and look at it on the game as well, because of course this is from the Japanese wiki, so it's translated by Google Translate, right? So it's recommending us to use slime bullets. So you can see it's the slime bomb here, right here. So Slime Bomb is going to be increasing our spell's damage, right? So pal damage apparently is pretty damn nice for warriors. Of course, warriors are going to be pretty sturdy, and we'll try and see whether or not pals make a lot of sense here. The pal damage really feels a little bit weird, for example, at least for me, looking at it from an archer point of view, but nonetheless, we'll go ahead and see what's up next. So it's easier for allies to earn damage than your own normal attack. So that's basically what it's saying. Like, warriors have a bit of a struggle scaling their own damage because they're focusing so much on counterattack and defenses, and therefore pals are going to be doing quite some meaningful damage for you, right? Then Foul Strike, if we are just going to be following the order here, we can see that it's easy breezy here, unless maybe it's not order. Nonetheless, excellent for damage reduction, of course, reducing the attack that the enemy is going to be doing to you, 20% reduced attack on them, right? You just last a little bit longer, pretty damn simple, you just have an easier time surviving, right? So, set with the cage statue, that will be, yeah, we'll just figure this out too. Of course, it's going to be recommending stuff, so if you want to be checking this out for yourself, it's of course going to be down in the description. Nonetheless, it's also recommending us to go with the region. Of course, we know that Nature Renewal, pretty damn good for just surviving, although I would actually, of course, always recommend going with the Shroom Shield first. It's also recommended within this guide, right? So Shroom Shield and Nature's Renewal, pretty damn good combo early on in the game. It's going to be very defensive, very good for PvE and PvP as well. And then finally, it's going with Batty Trace, which is going to be dealing a little bit of damage, and that's pretty much just about it. Why does it actually recommend here? Excellent damage source. Yeah, early on, it's pretty much just a matter of getting a little bit of damage onto your warrior. So that is a decent setup just for the sake of getting a little bit of extra damage as well as have bit of survivability. Definitely a decent set of choices. Now let's look at the skills a little bit more advanced right here, right? So we can see it's recommending to go with Smoke Bomb, pretty much just like in every build, scaling the damage you do to the enemy. Smoke Bomb is going to be increasing the damage you deal to the enemy for 5 seconds by 30%, so pretty damn strong. Also going to be recommending to go along with Wild Gust, increasing as well your damage by 15%. Pretty cool. I have no complaints right there. That's a very good skill. Once again, going with Easy Breezy, reducing the enemy's attack, so that's very good. Now warriors want to be attacked because they want to have the counter strikes happen, but they don't want to take too much damage, so this makes perfect sense. You don't want to be reducing the enemy's attack speed too much, you rather want to be actually just reducing the damage they're doing to you, right? So this is sounds like a fair choice to me. And then it's recommended to go with Nature's Renewal along with the Shroom Shield. Now I would, instead of going with Nature's Renewal, of course, we'll go with Clone Strike. If you actually have unlocked Clone Strike, it's always going to be a lot better to have the clone available to you, because it's also going to be doing counters, and then it's also going to be tanking damage for you, right? So yeah, Clone Strike obviously always very damn strong. Whenever you unlock it, the game really changes up. Now if you don't have Clone Strike, what would I rather use? I think Nature's Renewal is a decent choice here, but you could also go, for example, with something like Disarm, right? Like Disarm, what's the point of Disarm really? It's just a matter of giving you extra time before the enemy actually starts attacking you, whether that is on PvP and PvE. Now warriors need to be attacked in order to deal the counter attacks, but nonetheless you do want to have time for everything else to happen, right? So for example, your pals doing damage, or you just, if you don't have this this skill and the enemy is using it on you, you're basically going to be at a disadvantage because you're going to be AFK right there. Of course, you will be able to dish out the counter attacks. I think that's actually still working while you are disarmed. Maybe it doesn't. But yeah, if the enemy has a disarm and you don't have it, you will be at a disadvantage clearly, right? So I don't know about the actual choice here of Nature's Renewal. I would personally go with Clone Strike. Now let's move on to pals here, right? So what pals is this guy recommended? Do they make sense? So it's recommended to go with extra crit rate. I mean, that's definitely fine. Of course, warriors will benefit from doing extra crit on their counterattacks. Something else, it's recommended to go with the deer for reduced damage taken. I also definitely agree that's a very good choice. Now, this is the early on choice, so the deer reduces the damage you take. I have the deer right here, so damage resistance plus 12%. It's also recommending the sprite. I would always recommend using the sprite, so that's perfectly fine. I definitely agree with that one. And then it's recommending to use this one right here, which is skill damage increase, right? So just like this one right here, excuse me. My throat is giving up on me. So skill damage increased by 60%. I'm not too sure about this one, to be fair. I would much rather go with something else, for example, early on, maybe even regeneration if you have a little bit of that on you. That's going to be increasing your own regeneration. The stat of regeneration you have is going to be increased by this. It doesn't actually work on Nature's Renewal. Nonetheless, I don't know about the skill damage too much. I don't think you are going to be scaling that much at the skill damage as a warrior. And then it's recommending to go with the toothpaste here, so it's going to be increasing the counter as well as counter damage. That is for sure the choice I would always do. And now the purple version is a little bit easier to get, right? So you would need to participate in the event in order to be getting the red version. Nonetheless, just like the banana, you're always going to be getting this for extra combo and extra counter, right? So I do agree with this. And now let's go ahead down a little bit here for the higher level version. So you, of course, have the red version of the toothpaste, the red version of the deer, the red version of the sprite, you have the extra crit, and then you also have the red version of the extra skill damage, which I'm not too sure of, right? I don't play warrior, so I'm not too sure if that's the right choice. I wouldn't agree with it too much. I would actually still go with, like, for example, the panda. Maybe not with the snow sprite. I would go with the panda, maybe even the rabbit. But maybe it's actually a better choice here. And then it's recommended to go with the eggplant. Now, if crit is that big for warriors, definitely you want to be scaling that crit rate if you can get your hands on the eggplant. For some reason, I'm not able to get it. I don't know if it's bugged right now in the game. And if you are able to, of course, get your electric pop down the line, that's always going to be a better choice, right? Increasing your counter damage by 60%. And restoring that 1% HP on the counter. That is insane. That's exactly what you want as a warrior, right? Much more survivability, so you are able to dish out more counters. And then okay, so here we have like the final version of the build right here. This is exactly what I wanted to see, right? So we have even better types of skills right here. We have, once again, the final full build would be Nature's Renewal. I would instead think to just go with Storm Shield, whatever, and maybe if you can get a couple uses of Nature's Renewal here, it's actually going to be worth it for your warrior. If you're lasting long enough, you're going to be getting more health out of Nature's Renewal than you're going to be getting from the shield. But yeah, I don't know too much about it. I will probably switch this around for Clone Strike once again. Maybe not. The sword here, I'm not too sure of that one, to be fair, but you do get a little bit of extra HP out of that. So yeah, you do get some health back if you're going to be using a certain relic. And doing that max HP damage is also okay, but I don't really agree with this one, to be fair. Now, you, of course, want to be using that smoke bomb. That's always going to be nice, more damage. That Blitz Assault is also going to be always very nice, just as a survivability tool. Obviously, it's going to be giving you the immunity, and then you will have your easy breezy right here, right? So that's always going to be reducing the damage that the enemy does to you. So I think that's still easy breezy. The smoke bomb and Blitz Assault, very, very good choices. I don't know about the sword here. I would probably still go with Clone Strike, and I don't know about this the Nature's Renewal. I would probably still go with what's it called, the shield, right? Yeah, Storm Shield. And for the pals right here, as I mentioned, of course, you want to be getting the pop eventually. That's always going to be pretty much a must. The tortoise here also decent, but I don't know too much about it, to be fair. That shield is really just not going to be doing that much for you. Of course, it's going to be lasting a little bit longer. You're going to be able to survive a little bit longer, but you probably want stuff like, for example, pal damage here. If your pals are going to be doing that much more damage for you, maybe a bit more offensive option, that's going to be better. The deer is still fine. The panda right here, I mean, why wouldn't you use the panda before? The panda is always going to be nice for that HP regen. And then the eggplant, if the crit is going to be very, very good, yeah, that's always decent, right? So now there's also other recommendations right here. If you don't have some of these spells, there's some alternatives to them, right? So you can check this guy for you if you want to be reading deep into it, right? Let's now move on to a different section here. For example, there is basically everything here is explained, right? So of course, it's going to be touching a little bit on the relics here. So let's just look a little bit onto them first. So we'll go to the relics, and it's recommending us to go, of course, with the extra counter. That's always going to be good. You want to be going for counter as a stat. We'll touch on stats a little bit later, but it's also recommending some alternatives here depending on your stats. So for example, like just like for archers, if you have a lot of combo, you might want to be getting a little bit of extra crit rate, right? So same happens for warriors. If you have a lot of counter, you might want to be doubling a little bit onto the extra crit rate, just like I was doing a little bit before here. And then for the blue ones, it's recommended to go with a kite. For sure, the kite is always nice. Whenever you're using a skill, it's going to be doing a little bit of damage. But it's also recommended to go with the lizard. And that is if you are going to be actually using the turtle or the dragon. In this case, it's actually saying if you have a dragon turtle, you'll want to use it. It's more powerful in PvP, just like that. Well, if you're actually going to be using the turtle eventually, well, that's probably going to be your go-to. Nonetheless, the extra damage from the kite is always nice, and pretty much you can always get benefit out of it, right? So next up for the purple is actually recommended to use this one because you're going to be using your deer, so your deer will be getting a little bit of extra damage to it. That's nice. The pulse will actually deal a little bit of damage, which is going to be scaling with the relic level as well, so that's nice. And if you're using the panda, you can also use the bamboo here. It's going to be giving the panda a little bit of an extra crit rate. I would probably just use the box here because you're probably always going to be using the deer. That damage reduction is nice and insane for warriors especially. Now, what about the books here? I think same applies for warriors like everywhere else. If you're going to be doing some PvE, you're going to be using the immunity book because you can still take the hits, you can still dish out the counters but take no damage. If you're going to be doing PvP, you then definitely would like to be using the flame book because it's the only one you're going to actually be benefiting from really in PvP. You can also use the resistances here, excuse me, but this one doesn't really give too much. I think it's always going to be much better to have a little bit more offense here if you're going to be doing PvP, as well as the immunity for PvE. Now, moving on to the other options right here, it's going to be telling us to actually go with either the cage for the easy breezy. I do agree with it. You're going to be using the easy breezy, so boosting the effect of it is going to be meaning that it's going to be doing a little bit of more damage reduction onto the enemy that the enemy is going to be dealing to you, so that's always nice. I do agree with that choice. It's also talking a little bit about the energy statue because of nature's renewal and the shroom shield. That's always going to be the case, right? You're also always going to be benefiting from these two, especially early on. You're going to be having all these three. If you're following this guy, you will have Patty Trace, Nature's Renewal, Shroom Shield. So I would recommend to go with the cage statue here because of the easy breezy if you're going to be following this guy. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, the energy statue is also a decent choice. And for the final choice right here, it's recommending us to go with the Crimson Sickle Neck because of the Blade Pierce. As I mentioned before, if you're using either Wild Gust or Blade Pierce, you're going to be getting a little bit of extra HP back from this one relic alone. I would still recommend to go with the Storm Necklace. I go along with Clone Strike, but early on, if you're going to be using Wild Gust together with this relic, that healing is going to be nice, right? As a warrior, you want to be getting a little bit of that, so that would always be a good option. So that's pretty much it for the relics. Now let's move on to the statue right here. So what it's recommending is either you're going to be going for a more aggressive build or for a more survivability focused build, right? So if you want to be surviving a little bit longer, you want to be going for 4 times extra health and simply 1 time for extra attack multiplier, so basically extra attack and then extra health. And if you're going to be going for a more aggressive type, you might want to be going for the extra attack, the counter attack damage increase, and the physical strength. So basically this is the health. I would probably just go with the counter attack. Honestly, I'm not sure if warriors are going full extra counter. That's like, for example, archers are going full extra combo. Nonetheless, this guide is recommending these 2 types of versions. A little bit more survivability if you're really struggling to survive, or a little bit more offensiveness if you feel safe and you want to be doing more damage. I think it's fair to give these 2 a try, especially if you're going to be playing, whether you're playing the more tanky version of the warrior or you're playing the actual, what you call actually the more offensive version of the class, right? So we can see, obviously, I'm talking about the Swordmaster or the Warmonger, right? So the Warmonger should be a little bit more offensive, so they would want to be going with a little bit of extra attack, counter damage, and a little bit of extra health just to survive, right? Because you always need to survive as a warrior, as you need to be dishing out those counters, right? So that's pretty simple rundown. When it comes to base stats, looking at it, basically you want to be getting extra counter first and then crit. That's basically it. You want to be getting counters as much as you can, and then a little bit of crit so you can crit out with those counters and deal more damage, because counters are also going to be counting as basic attacks. So increasing the crit damage onto them and increasing the crit rate is always going to be nice, just like combos for warriors. More crits on the combos means more damage, because crit basically combos count as normal basic attacks. So yeah, it basically just applies like archers, and then it also tells us to get recovery, because of course we want to be surviving, and then we want to be taking those hits. We don't want to be evading it, we actually want to be getting hit, so we can actually dish out the counters. Now, talking about souls here, It's mentioning we should focus on extra HP, so we are able to survive a little bit longer. HP is actually this one right here. And then it also talks about the extra attack right here, right? So attack bonus. I'm sure there's also the counter damage, right? So counter damage should also be pretty damn strong and pretty important. Obviously, you want to be dishing out those counters. And scaling up the counter damage is just exactly what you want to be getting. I don't know why it's not talking about this in this guide. Feels a little bit weird. Nonetheless, for sure, I would recommend you to go with counter damage as well as with some attack. A little bit of attack is always nice, but then the HP is always, of course, going to be nice, right? So just like we do with archers, we want to be scaling our main source of damage, the combos, in this case the counters, and then a little bit of that crit damage bonus will be nice, just like it says here. HP, increased attack, increased defense, crit resistance, various damage reductions. I'm not too sure about this recommendation, to be fair. I think the counter damage offensiveness would be always nicer, the basic attack would always be nicer, the crit damage would always be nicer, and then whenever you are just doing fine with the damage, you want to be scaling a little bit your HP, want to be scaling a little bit your defense, your crit resistance, and all that stuff, right? So yeah, that's kind of what I would do, but nonetheless, you can also try out whatever the guide is doing. You can always just sell your lower tier souls to get back full value of whatever you spent in them, or you just can reset the actual max, what you call the red tier souls, for some diamonds, so you can actually test out different builds of the souls, right? So yeah, that's it for that. What else we have here, right? So it's talking a little bit about the Sacred Demon Treasure here. Basically what it's saying us to do here first is counter damage multiplication, so extra counter damage for sure, just like combo damage, go for extra counter. Extra crit damage, so once again, crit damage multiplication, always good. Basic attack damage, of course, I would always do that. Ignore avoidance, always an offensive, a very, very offensive option. I would always do that as well if I was just doing the same thing for combo as an archer, and then whatever you can get for damage reduction. I think this is a fair assessment. Whatever you can try and get for your enchants right here, any of those would work. And of course, you would try and get the bonuses, right? I already sold basically every other piece. That was not what I wanted, but you would want to be scaling your global counter damage as well as your global basic attack damage. Those two together would always be your best damage increasing tools. Then it says priority 2 main performance. Yeah, I'm not sure about this one. It's probably just talking about other options you might have here, but nonetheless, yeah, I won't give too much of a consideration to these. Just go for extra counter damage, extra crit damage, extra basic attack damage, and then whatever else you can get in terms of defenses. Of course, keep those two sets active. Extra counter damage, just get those to a 4-piece, and get the extra crit damage to a 2-piece, or extra basic attack damage. It also gives some recommendations here for your back attachments as well as your artifacts. It says that you should get this Sacred Treasure or the artifact skin that's coming up in the event that's already live right now, so that's probably a good option. It's going to be doing a little bit of damage after every 10 counters or 10 basic attacks or 10 skills, so that's decent, as well as this back attachment. I definitely would recommend going with this back attachment, the one I have right now. Of course, it's going to be increasing your survivability by a lot, as well as unlocking a little bit of extra damage after you have max stacks on that boost of the defense. And then it's recommending these two for the mount skins. So let's just look at them. I'm not sure if they are all already active in the game or unlocked. This one is going to be giving you the pile damage increase. So yeah, I mean, it seems fair, as well as increased damage resistance by 10% and shortening the duration of control effects. That sounds a fair combination. 10% more damage resistance as well as a little bit of pile damage. Seems okay for a warrior. And then we also have the bike, which I think is also right here. Global HP increased by 10%, and with every one counter, increase global counter damage by 10% for 3 seconds, up to a maximum of 30%, so you can have 30% more global counter damage. That sounds pretty damn fair, to be fair. I mean, I kind of agree. I don't know, I don't think we can, we haven't been able to already get this motorbike, and then I don't think we have also been able to get the ox. Maybe we have in one of those gambling gaches, but nonetheless, those two seem like fair options to me. I think those two would definitely be nice, and going together with a warrior build. That's pretty much just about it, to be fair. I think we touched on everything. We talked a little bit about the souls, relics, the back attachment, the artifact, the mount. We talked about gearing. We talked about the skills, the pals. We talked about the statue here. I think we only are missing the talents, right? So for talents, I think it would kind of be a matter of just trying to pursue whatever's best for you as the later nodes, right? So I think this one right here is probably more interesting for warriors. When your HP falls below 20%, you increase your attack speed, and your crit damage by quite a lot. And then the option right here to the left would also be very interesting. After 15 seconds in battle, you gain 15% attack speed. After 30 seconds, you get extra crit rate, and after 45 seconds, you get extra attack. This also seems like a pretty nice touch for warriors, especially in PvE, because those are pretty long timers to unlock the whatever the effects are. And this one is only gonna be giving you a little bit of extra healing, so not too keen on this one. But yeah, you of course want to be getting a little bit of all the stats, extra defense, extra attack, extra health, and then try and get whatever the nodes you might think are the best, like for example counter damage for sure. You need those, but you need to unlock everything in order to just be able to get to the last node, right? So I would go right first, then I would go left, and then I would probably try and go for something else like on the archer section here, maybe something that you can actually combo with, right? So yeah, healing amount would be nice, but yeah, for example something like this, crit damage would be nice. This one also, I think, now this actually just for combo damage, so try and find something that actually applies for warriors, but that's gonna take a whole lot of long time to actually be able to unlock that, right? As an archer, I'm still nowhere near close being able to get to my last node here, right? So yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you guys. Let me know what you think about this Japanese wiki. I'm not claiming this to be the best build for warriors, although yeah, it does feel like it could be a decent build. Let me know if you got a build that's probably better for you, what's working for you or not, and whether you are playing a warrior or what do you think, they're good, they're strong, they're bad in the game right now. Nonetheless, before you go, please go ahead and check out Aptoide. Now, if you haven't done so yet, Aptoide is basically a platform where you can download apps just like Google Play or the App Store, and whenever you are downloading an app through Aptoide, you can just go ahead and earn extra credits or extra value for your money whenever you're trying to make a purchase, right? For example, so right here, I'm trying to purchase this pack of diamonds, and when I'm trying to spend this money, I'm gonna be getting a bonus that goes from extra 10% all the way up to extra 35% of however much money I'm spending. So right here, you can see I'm getting extra 14 cents for spending this €20, right? So you can then go ahead and use those bonuses in order to make more purchases within the game by spending the bonuses instead of our actual real money, right? So that's basically getting more value for your money. You're gonna be able to accumulate the bonuses as you're doing the spendings, and then you can use the bonuses to make more spendings instead of your actual money. So you can scale that bonus up by doing multiple things. For example, you can input my code within the AppCoins wallet, which is something else you need to download, but don't fear, it's going to be very simple to set it up. There's going to be a guide down in the description on how to set it up on your phone as well as on an emulator on your PC. It's pretty simple. You can just set it up in like 5 minutes, and then you can start playing the game, Legend of Mushroom or any other Android game for that matter, and it will take not too much time just to get it running, and take it from wherever you left it in the game. You don't lose any progress from doing this in the Legend of Mushroom. And then here you can see your progress towards unlocking higher bonuses, right? So if you put my code right here, you can increase that bonus by a flat 5% from the get-go, and then you can also unlock bigger bonuses by accumulating spendings. As you can see right here, you can track your progress to getting bigger and bigger bonuses, and you can also see whether or not there is any active events going for the game you want to be getting the bonus for, right? So there might be an event running for the Legend of Mushroom that can get you an increase 10, 5%, whatever that is, for the bonus in that game for a limited time, right? You can also track your progress or the accumulated bonus right here in the wallet, and pretty much you can just get whatever you want in the game for a little bit cheaper of a value. You just get better value for your money, basically. So you do help me out if you use my code, and of course you help yourself by just being able to purchase whatever you want in the game for a lesser price, right? I think it's a fair deal, and yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know if you got any questions down below in the comment section. If you want to be, let me if you want to get any help out of me if you're just trying to set it up, and if you got any questions about the game or whatever, just go ahead and drop any comment down below, right? So yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Like, subscribe if you like it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye, see you.